You know the deal. Let's just jump right in.
What is your childhood memory that you thought was normal but realized it was traumatic later in your life?
Growing up, every summer we would pick apples at the local orchard. Lots of apples. We would keep some, but most just went to the orchard. I always thought it was just a fun time out. Would pick up apples, give them to Dad to put in his picking bag, see how shiny you could get one and throw out the rotten ones around. 20 plus years later, it finally occurred to me that it was a little weird, so I asked my dad about it. He looked straight at me and quietly said, "With 5 kids, we needed the money." I would save my vacation at work and we would pick apples for the extra money. My parents worked their butts off to provide for us, make enough money to pay for half of our university educations and save for retirement, all while making it fun. Not really traumatic, but eye-opening for me. Huge respect for Mom and Dad. An island of wholesomeness in the sea of sadness. Thanks for your story. My mother used to let me skip school a lot to take me to the hospital to see my older sister. We'd have hospital campouts where I'd sleep in the hospital bed with my sister and she'd sleep in a recliner chair provided for parents. It's now that I realize she'd do that because everyone, doctors, child psychiatrists, social workers, and even friends and family, told her she needed to give me as much good memories with my sister as possible before she died. Surprisingly, that's not the traumatic memory. On those hospital campouts, she used to make me memorize a nursery rhyme. She'd sing it to me, then make me sing it back to her over and over. It was to the tune of Hickory Dickory Dock, because I used to watch Play School a lot. So it was one I loved, but one that wouldn't come up in school. So there was no risk of teachers asking me to play it on accordion, then wondering why I was singing the wrong lyrics. She drilled it so much into my head that I still remember the lyrics. The first verse was about my dad, that he was abusive and that I couldn't be placed with him. The second verse was about my godmother, her name and her phone number, that she had documents to prove the abuse, and that she will take me in.
I realize now that my father was severely abusive to my mother, and my mother was constantly trying to prepare me in case he killed her. Whether it looked like an accident or not, she needed me to be able to tell the police officers that he was abusive, that my godmother's number is size, that she has evidence and will take me in. I learned the nursery rhyme when I was 4. I guess it was the only way she could ensure a 4-year-old would memorize information like that. How did you get out?
Pretty much the kind of way you'd see it portrayed in movies. It came to a head one night. I have vague memories. PTSD leaves a lot of blank spots. Most of the time, when my dad went off, my brother, sister, and I would already be in bed. But that night, I was sick. So my mom had left me in the kitchen for my father to watch me while she put my brother and sister to bed. I vomited, and my father ignored me. My mom came out, saw me crying, and told him gently, "Hon, when your daughter throws up, you have to stop what you're doing and help her." That was all it took. He started throwing plates, and my mom pushed me towards the door. Glass shards went through my feet and torso. I was only wearing a singlet and underwear because I had a fever. I ran upstairs. My brother and I would usually stay in bed when things got bad like that, but this time he knew I was out there. So he ran out looking for me. I hid in the living room between the couch and the wall while he got the baseball bat he'd gotten for his 12th birthday and stood in front of me. My mother shouted, "Call the cops if your father kills me." I tried, but he cut the phone lines.
Somehow she got us out, and I'll never know how she made the gut-wrenching decision that she had to leave my sister behind in order to get my brother and I to safety and come back with help. But she didn't get any help. The cop was a sexist mid-20s guy who, in spite of my clear injuries, thought my mother was kicking up a fuss just to cause trouble for her husband. He asked my dad to leave for 24 hours, that's it. He did leave. but came back the next day with a gun, broke in and hunted through the house for us. I hid in the cupboard and looked through the slants as he walked by. He couldn't find us, so he just burned all our stuff and left instead. My mother bought us the first tickets for the first flight to the furthest state away, and we flew there with nothing but the clothes on our backs. We never looked back.
Did you ever have to use it or say it? I did have to use it once, but not because he'd killed my mother. I don't quite recall this particular instance. Most of the memories kind of blend together. I have PTSD, so a lot of it is blocked out or entangled. But I know my mother and sister were still in danger. I believe maybe CPS had picked my brother and I up at school after teachers saw injuries on us. I told them the nursery rhyme because all I knew at the time was that it was my way of remembering my godmother's phone number for them to call her when we were placed with her for about a year.
Damn, I thought I was gonna win this one. Skeptical. My dad raped me almost every night until, at age 11, I finally realized it wasn't normal. My mom wasn't involved though. After the court case and everything, I was able to move back in with her and him. I haven't seen since the last day of court. But damn, this one chilled my spine.
My parents fighting all night, followed by my dad packing a bag, getting in his car, my mom standing in front of the car so he couldn't leave, then threatening divorce every other day, and then being all over each other on their good days. I have no idea what a healthy relationship was until my husband and I went to marriage counseling, and I saw how toxic that all was and how much it stuck. Sad how many kids grow up without any frame of reference for a positive relationship until probably their teens when they encounter other people's families. I had a friend who grew up in a pretty bad spot. He's married now and once said probably Hal and Lois on TV made him want to get married way more than my own parents. And right here, I just want to comment on the relationships with parents that's going on with a lot of these stories. It's really important to understand that not all relationships are going to be going well. It's really common to have arguments between the parents. But what's important is understanding how to handle these arguments. Because a lot of times people get angry and people want to basically show it off in a negative way. And it's really important to make sure that if you ever have kids, to pretty much avoid having that kind of confrontation in front of the kids. Now, there is some like balance that people are saying that needs to be had. Like, it's okay to have disagreements in front of your kids, but you want to handle them in a proper manner so that way your kids can learn from them. Because it's one thing to make it look like there's never been an argument between you and your significant other, but if you show that disagreements occur and you show how to handle them in the right way, it helps the child be able to understand that yes, life is not perfect. People will disagree with you, but you need to know the correct way to handle it and react to it. And reacting in anger is not the right way. Being able to compromise and be willing to compromise is the key to helping with those type of relationships. Did you cry or get angry yet? Don't worry, there's much more. Make sure to share these experiences, comment, and maybe you might be in the next video. Cheers.